I was so depressed. I had good people around and they came in, they visited, they were telling me it's okay, try to do this, try to do that. But everything I tried, even from medical point of view, it wasn't helping because I still couldn't find the peace. And I was like, God, what is this? Because you said your peace you live with us. But when I'm in that situation, I can't find that peace. Me being alive today is actually a miracle because I would have been long dead. And it happened that my mom took in someone into the house to stay in with them. And he happened to be a wizard. And from the story, the person had dedicated me in their coven and, they were going from hospital to hospital, but they couldn't find anything wrong. And I would have died actually, but I don't know, in the middle of everything, they were able to conduct like a deliverance session. That was when the truth was revealed. And so me being alive actually now, it's actually a miracle. And so they told me that, and every time when I try to reflect, I reflect on that, I'm like, my life is a miracle. So I'm not here to just waste it. I'm here to let people know and inspire people through my life.
Welcome, guys, once again to the Grace and Glow Up podcast. If you're new here, my name is Ivy Cachero. At the Grace and Glow Up podcast is where faith meets real life and purpose turns into influence. We explore kingdom identity, marketplace excellence, and leadership principles that empower you to live wholly, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And I'm glad that you get to tune in again this week's episode. Last week, I gave you an intro of how we are getting into this new season of season 2. It's been a long time coming, but trust me, it's going to be worthwhile. And based off the title, I have a lovely guest on the episode. I must say, for me, anybody who's written a book, because I can't write an essay, but anybody who's written a book has done something tremendous. And I think her story is worth sharing, highly encouraging, especially in this season where I know everybody is going through something or has just come out of something. And I think it's worth the opportunity for her to share her Grace to Glow Up journey in the many seasons and the excitement, what's been in this book. So I'd like to introduce you, Victoria. Your second name is quite long. So introduce your name and say your name the way you'd ideally say it. And welcome again.
Thank you for having me. My name is Oluwajunilo Victoria. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to have the pleasure to tell the whole world about the book that I wrote. And by profession, or let me say by qualification or by certificate, I'm a medical practitioner. But life happens, and you have to move on, and season change and phases change. And I realized that I could actually use my medical knowledge in non-clinical setting, which made me move into insurance sector.
Oh, nice.
And after that, I think it didn't stop there because I had passion to cook for people, catering for events and all of that. And I do that as well.
Nice.
And then in between, life happened. And if someone had told me that I would write a book, I would say no. But you see, in the season of everything, it was just done on me because I found something genuine, that I felt like is worth sharing to the whole world.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could just keep that back. And that's why to my title now, you can add a heartfelt, even though like I'm not using it as a title or to show off. But it's just one of those things because when God gives you the grace to share that message, you shouldn't hold back. You should take the opportunity. So basically, my life is just trying to add value to people, trying to serve people, trying to encourage people, trying to let them know that there is peace in the stop.
Absolutely. To be honest, I don't, you just said something. And I think I don't know, I'd like to say women are the ones who do this a lot. In terms of downplaying achievements that, they've done. Writing a book is what qualifies someone to become an author. So I don't think you have to, it's not, it's an achievement you've made, so you can own the badge. And so feel proud of having done that. So, I wanted us to go through some of the things you've highlighted in your book. One, I think you've given the background in terms of what has inspired you to particularly write this book, especially in this season, or in the season that you are writing this book. What was the inspiration?
Okay, let me just give like a backstory of my life.
Yeah.
Because since when I was a baby, I got to know, like, me being alive today is actually a miracle, because I would have been long dead. And it happened that my mom took in someone into the house to stay in with them, and he happened to be a wizard. And from the story, the person had dedicated me in their coven, and they were going from hospital to hospital, but they couldn't find anything wrong. And I would have died actually, but I don't know. In the middle of everything, they were able to conduct like a deliverance session, and that was when the truth was revealed. And so me being alive actually now, it's actually a miracle. And so they told me that, and every time when I try to reflect, I reflect on that. I'm like, my life is a miracle. So I'm not here to just waste it. I'm here to let people know and inspire people through my life. Like, it's a testimony. Like, because I could have been long gone, and then this book is even nowhere to be found. And even minus that, I mean, there are a lot of things that happened in my life growing up, going to university. There are a lot of challenges that came up my way. And another slapping storm that I could say, or like was a big storm for me, was when I was preparing to get married. Yeah. And we were all happy. I think I was preparing for my introduction. Yeah. So a week to the introduction, and this big storm just hit my face. No one saw it coming. And I mean, this is someone that I love. My father-in-law was someone like my father. I always say, like, I don't know what highest qualification I could give to him. Like, we were so close that, I was just like, we met like in a short time, but he got so close in such a connection that he actually knows me deeply. He knows when I'm not okay. Sometimes he won't invite me, come over, take a book, read, and all those kind of things. And then in the middle of it, in a short while, we just encountered this fatal accident where the lorry just climbed over the car. How I survived. How my
You were together in the car.
We were together in the car with my fiancé and two other people. How I survived that accident to today, I don't know. And in the midst of that, I was doing my internship, and I was supposed to complete I broke this is a part of I broke this, I broke my pelvic. I mean, a lot of scars and everything. But in the middle of it, I mean, that storm was big enough even to write a book, but I'm just like, nah, I'm not even looking into this. But I held those scars in, and I'm like, for me to survive that, there has to be something and this could change people's life. And the real thing that inspired this was, when you're just going through, I've survived all those storms actually, and then you're going through your normal life, and then all of a sudden you are hit with a legal case that you don't even know anything about. And you don't even know where to start. You don't know what. And it was so disturbing that I didn't have peace in the initial part. I won't lie to you. I was so depressed. I had friends that I had good people around, trust me, yeah. And they came in, they visited, they were telling me it's okay, try to do this, try to do that. But, everything I tried, even from medical point of view, it wasn't helping because I still couldn't find the peace. And I was like, God, what is this? Because you said your peace you leave with us. But when I'm in that situation, I can't find that peace. It was so difficult to make. At that moment, it felt like, exactly, it felt like there was no way out. And in the middle of that, God was trying to reveal to me, like, many people are like you. They feel like there's no way out. And that's why they commit suicide. That's why they are depressed. That's why they are this and that. But what was shocking to me was, while I was going through that phase, that was when peace started coming in. I didn't even notice it, honestly, because I was still doing my things. Initially, maybe you would see that I'm faking it. Like maybe I'll come, I'll try to smile. But at a point, no, this wasn't like I'm trying to be happy. I was actually genuinely happy.
Became your reality.
People were having marriages, I'm there cheering them, I'm calling them on phone, like very happy for them. And I have my battles. I have my issues. And I'm like, how am I able to do this? How am I able to show up for people in a genuine way? Yeah. Then I realized something had happened. And my husband actually pointed it out for me. It was like, do you realize that now you're so happy? And I'm like, well, it's just God. But then again, I didn't want to take it for granted because not everyone gets to carry burdens like exactly. Yeah. Not everyone had the opportunity to come to that realization that you can actually have peace in the middle of the storm. So so when I have that peace, I'm like, I don't want to keep this to myself. I want the whole world to know, because at the end of everything, God was trying to bring people into my life that were far away, people that I felt like they are doing okay. You look at their social media, they're doing great. Yeah. I mean, and then they come to you and they're sharing things with you, and I'm like, kind of weird. Even though I have mine, but even what they're sharing became like more like an encouragement for me. Like, actually, everyone is going through something. Yeah, and that's why the title came, because it's like a storm. So your own definition for storm could be different. Yeah. Severity is different. Intensity is different.
And people bear different circumstances. A job loss is a storm for someone heavy enough to be consider, the loss of life. Yeah. I mean, so, storms, it's different. Everybody is going through something at some point, for sure.
Exactly.
And I think what you just said really brings it home. I've been in seasons where a lot of people, when I tell people that I'm going through something and they are shocked because of my outward appearance, I'm always explaining how it's, it come across as if, okay, fine, you're just, speaking Christianese, or because you've been in the church, you're supposed to say things a specific way. But one of the things is when certain scriptures come to life for you, you move different. And one of it for me was rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. I cannot explain the way I'm able to be joyful in specific situations. I don't have a reason. Like when someone says, how is this possible? I'm saying, I don't know. And one of the things that came across to me in reflection over the last few months was the idea of like joy bringers, and how joy bringers is actually a ministry. And the way we used to have a show in Kenya called Joy Bringers, but like the way I saw it was that there are people who God has graced with the ability to have joy throughout whatever season.
Yeah.
And they can be able to come into rooms when people are in so much pain and so much sorrow and looking so devastated, and still have the grace to carry a presence that can transform people's state or mind, and I guess, and it easily come across as, this person seems still and calm despite the circumstance, but it is an actual gift. I think it should be included as one of the gift. Yeah, it needs to be included as one of the gifts of the Spirit, honestly. Yeah. So I wanted to ask a few other questions, because a few of the things that occurred to me, because you've mentioned a few things that also stood out to me, like when you were born. I feel like a lot of the situations you've narrated had some form of resistance. Your birth had some form of resistance. I feel like just before you got married, there was a form of resistance.
Yeah.
And now, this was a big thing. I usually believe that everything that someone does that is sort of ministry related, or like when you're sharing like a God-centered message, there is usually some form of resistance. And I wanted to ask, personally for you, while you were writing the book, would you say, did you face any challenges throughout the process, both emotionally, spiritually, physically?
Yes, I faced a lot of resistance before, during, after, even during the book launch. And I'll give like examples of everything that I faced. Actually, when I was writing this book, this wasn't the first book. I was writing a different book. And in the middle of that book, this one came out. I was writing this chapter. I was writing this as a chapter. there's something about peace, but not like this in the context it says. And then I realized that I was writing, it was getting too much. I'm like, okay, I could just do a short book while I wait for this big one to come out next.
Yeah.
So that's how I drafted that chapter to make a book itself. And so it got to a point where I think chapter 5,
Yeah.
it was so depressing. I was literally crying while writing. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
What was depressing particularly? Is it
not
the reality of your situation or reality
of my situation as I was writing? Because I'm like, Lord, how do I get this message across if I'm still... It wasn't actually a challenge because some people were like, okay, so how do you say you write a book? What is your testimony? I said, this book is my testimony. I don't have to look like I got it figured out or like everything is okay. It doesn't have to look like that. Me coming out, because it's a shock to my mom, honestly. She was like, I can't believe that you sit down to write a book with what you're going through.
Yeah, I personally.
So actually when I reached chapter 5, I was like, I don't think I want this to go out yet. I don't think I want to continue writing. I don't think, like, a whole lot of things. And even when it got to editing, then I was like, no. I mean, there were so many comments that I felt like I wasn't ready. But again, the message was so strong, and I didn't take that issue that God was bringing people into my life. I didn't take it for granted because I felt those people need to hear that message. And the more I tend to delay, the more they don't get to hear it, and I'm wasting time. So I felt like I was just trying to push and just asking the Holy Spirit to help me push out the message as much as possible. And I think before the launch, 2 days to the launch, and I was just cooking in the kitchen. Guess what happened? I just bought this sharp knife. It was very sharp, but again, I was being careful. But I was trying to like separate something with the knife, and I cut myself.
Your fingers were just...
If you can see, it's not straight. I damaged the nerve, really. I damaged it was a deep cut, and I was just like, God, what is this? I'm just 2 days away. So on the launch day, you could see me rubbing something around. Yes, because even there, it was just even cold because now to get drugs was something else because of the
emotion, yeah.
And then I just thank God for helping me, and with the medical knowledge, I was able to control the situation, but it was so much pain. And I'm like, why is this happening? And then in the middle of that, my husband also got sick a little bit, like close to the time. I'm like, what is happening? I said, you know what, devil, no matter what you're trying to do, this message is going to go out. So actually, yeah, there were a lot of resistance while preparing, during preparation, even after, even now.
And would you say that despite that, like, how would you say then in the writing of the book, it helped you? How has this helped you heal, through this process? Because there's been aspects of the storms you've gone through before, and now that you've learned, I mean, unpacking this on paper helps you get a different perspective to your issues. How would you say this has helped you heal from, the things you've been through in the past, and now how this is shaping how you've grown in terms of navigating storms now?
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing that happened when I was writing the book, because it got to a point where I felt like, God, is it that you only do the big things? You don't do small things? Or is it that you're just... But I know the heart of God, trust me.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was just buried in the situation, and I can't see anything outside of that. Yeah. So what I did was I took a moment to reflect. I was actually journaling. So I sat down, I journaled like from my birth, from everything I can remember that God did for me. I journaled, and then, my dear, I had 2 pages. And I wasn't writing like full story, just like short, like points. And I didn't do that alone. I messaged my siblings, my dad, my mom. I'm like, you know what? You as well, I'm sure God did a lot of things in your life. You write to me, and I'm making a journal for that. So I did all of that, but it happened because I was writing the book. I don't think I would have thought of doing that. So I took it, and I took a moment, reflect, and I looked, and I said, devil, you're a bastard. Because God has been this good to me.
God has been so faithful
to me, right? And through this writing, it brought out the aspect of journaling out from me, and I was able to take a deep reflection, and I could see how God has been good to me. And I'm like, so because God didn't do one thing, doesn't mean now he's no longer God, or doesn't mean that now he is bad, or doesn't mean that now he can do. Someone did 99%, and then 1% he didn't do, and then you're just in your bashed. So
You wouldn't want to be bashed even for that.
yeah, so I was able to bring up myself from the situation to actually feel like, okay, this is not the end of a thing. And even me writing this book, it's it means to spread the healing to people that are still like going through whatever challenge or whatever overwhelming situation that they're dealing with. So in a way, it's actually writing the book also brought me to the point where I now know, I know clearly what true peace actually is. And that's what actually brought about my healing. It's not about having the answers. It's not about having it all figured out. It's not about looking polished or like, I mean, there are some days that you go to God like wobbling and crying, and you don't even go.
Yeah, if there's anybody who feels like, I think one of the biggest illusions is thinking that people's lives are what you see on social media, like a curated highlight of files. I'm like, anybody who looks, for example, and I say this all the time, like if you base your life off, let's say, my social media highlight, you have a terrible illusion of how I live my life, because it's not that my social media is a lie, but like that's just a highlight of what's going on in my life. People don't truly get to know who someone truly is character-wise and the experiences they're having. To be honest, even without access to this book, half of what you're saying, I would completely have never had an idea. I mean, your husband had said a few things here and there before, but like not to the depth of which we have in this conversation. And something I saw on the book to make light of, I don't know whether I can be able to reference it here. There was a statement you'd written, I think, in context. Maybe what did this mean in the book? You said life is a scam or something. You said that I know give up scam. So what got you there, like to think of it this way?
Okay, so I was having this conversation with my friend, and then, she was just telling me about life. And then she made that statement, adulthood is a scam. But that's not the first time I'm hearing it. Yeah. Everyone sees that, everyone comes to that part, because, when you're growing up, you just feel like, I want to quickly grow up.
Yeah, I want to move out of...
I want to do this quickly. I want to finish my education. I want to get married. And then you reach there and then you realize there is more. And then
I wanted to get married like 25, so just leaving my husband's house where my parents don't tell me
what to do. But the truth is, like, every moment you're supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even the hard ones.
Yeah.
In a way, you'll find peace. God will surround you with people like that are good, that you could rely on. Because in a way, everyone comes to that place. Even for me, I think I've made that statement before that. Yeah, like I wasn't expecting that. I just felt everything would be rosy and all of that after. So I feel everyone can resonate with that word, or they could also connect to that statement that truly, but in the midst of that scam,
yeah,
let us have peace in it. Let us enjoy every phase of it. Even if it's not looking sweet, even if it's bitter, even if it's, don't be engrossed in the whole thing.
Yeah. I think sometimes the reason why we think adulthood is a scam is I think our parents really shielded us from the reality of what adulthood really looks like. So it made it seem like growing up is this something to really aspire to, because it gets you all these things, because you could see your parents sort of live a specific way, having specific things, and we thought
the struggles.
Yeah, we didn't know. Some of us didn't know our parents were in debt. Some of us didn't know our parents were having marriage issues. It's now that you're like, how come people didn't tell us all of this, And I think sometimes I feel like, especially in context to this book, I think having an understanding of some of these experiences from our families would have better prepared us for some of these things in terms of the reality of what life is. And so you don't go into life with like a Delulu type mindset.
But I think they're scared of telling us what it looks like, so that you wouldn't, they think like if you're going to shy away or like
there's an educated way of doing it. Let me ask, if right now, if I had a child now, the kind of things I'd be telling my child, like even my younger sisters, I don't give my sisters falsified, like, oh, life there, you'll meet this man, he's gonna marry you. Sure, that's gonna happen, but I'm always very adamant on explaining how you end up to that reality. The nice man exists, the great marriage exists, but to avoid having so many injuries along the way, you prepare them, this is what you're avoiding. Because all I knew when I was younger is, oh, boys are bad, like avoid boys, don't play with boys. Boys will, and then now you're thinking, I don't see the how I was able to apply that now as an adult to protect myself. Yeah. But I want to ask something of that was also on my mind with regards to the book is what would you say right now are the key tools, let's now talk practical tools that you would say you've been able to identify, like in navigating your day to day, that when you're in a storm that sort of sustained you throughout the season, and what that looks like, for how does someone just get started? What are practical ways to consider?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, because I'm a Christian, so it's going to be centered around about God a little bit. But again, from the medical point of view, I'm also going to shed more light on that about what I did and how I went about it. But I'm not saying that follow it like a root. It's not a one view fits all. Exactly. So what I did that time, I had to come to a place of surrender.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, I've tried everything I know how to do. I can't do this by myself. So I'm like, God, I leave it to you. So it's, first of all, you need to come to that place of like, Lord, I know I can do this. Because when you're still holding on to it and you're still fighting, then you'll leave it to like, okay, so you do your thing. You think you have the energy to do that. Okay, fine. But then there are some situations that you know that there is no way out except God helps you. So I'm talking about that situation. So I had to surrender, first of all, and thank God for people that were around me. And then I had to embrace gratitude also. In the little things, in the nature, when I go out for work, when I go for swimming, when I try to do little things, I just look at the nature and just appreciate God for that. So I start to see God from a very good perspective, even though I didn't see the answer that I wanted.
Yeah.
And apart from that, God so blessed me with great people.
Yeah.
And it was one of the tools, because there's some days I don't want to do anything, but my friend, she just be like, Vicky, are you around? Okay, come, let's go swimming. Oh, are you around? Oh, let's take a walk. Let's do prayer walk. Let's do this. Like there's always, and because of the respect I have for her, I can't say no.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, whenever I go out and I come back, I feel so refreshed. And even when I had some of the friends come over to the house to visit me, they also give some practical tips. Even though I know from medical point of view, like when you're depressed, you need to go out, you need to do activities.
Stagnation is a way to just cripple you.
But it's difficult in that moment because, what I was doing initially was I was just, fasting, praying. My husband would go to work in the morning, come back, I'm still praying, I'm still fasting. I'm listening to messages back to the Bible. But you see, it wasn't helping with the depression part because I was like looking like a shadow of myself.
Because you are heavily focused on, because sometimes you're heavily focused on the issue.
And then that issue now looked so big and God looked very small. And I had to come to a point, I'm like, this issue is small. It's nothing. And I don't have to make it look like it's anything. So I had to first of all surrender, and then start to move out, exercise. Sometimes I go for a run. And I'm so happy. Sometimes I'm going to give myself a target. I'm going to run 30 minutes non-stop. Even if I'm going to die, I'm not going to stop.
I don't even like to do. I go to the gym, but running is not my forte. Let's do a walk. A run, I'm working on that.
No, and you see, those times it helped me. Even in what I was writing, it helped me because I'm like, look at, sometimes when I'm running, it feels like I'm suffocating and I want to give up.
Yeah.
But because I set a target, I'm that kind of person. I put a target in, but even if you're dying, you just complete it. So I'm like, so you're able to do that with running. Then whatever you want to do, you could. You want to write a book, you want to do, you are going to finish and get it completed. So I just, those were chose friends, community, and also at that point, I also joined like a church fellowship, like a small gathering. So most of the times I don't want to go also, but just push myself, and the result is very good. I mix up with them. It looked like I don't have a problem.
Yeah. We all say everybody is, everybody gets out of what they're dealing with.
Exactly. And everybody looks okay, and they just when it after that you go back home. I go back home, I feel refreshed. And I'm like, wow.
Because it's difficult to take yourself from, like, unless you're a psycho.
Yeah.
You can't, because I mean, I've met those. Like, it's difficult to take yourself from such a high and then you just suddenly switched and get to such a low, unless you're legit mentally not in a good state. So I guess that opportunity to constantly find, I say, buckets of happiness, like here and there, even when you're going through stuff, is a very essential way of like navigating storms. Yeah. And to be honest, one of the things, in all you said is choosing, the idea of surrender is choosing and commanding your soul to like operate or completely different from the way you feel. Is choosing the idea of constantly choosing joy is what can give you the stillness and the kind of peace that most people desire, but like people don't realize that joy is a choice. Just the same way love is a choice, joy is a choice. There's a song I was thinking about when you're talking about like some of the tools, you said how you used to look around. It reminds me of a season. There was a season I was going through a while ago. And there are a couple of songs I used to sing, but one of the songs that, until I realized like the intensity of what the song was saying, there's a song by Nathaniel Bassey that says, Jehovah Shammah, I see you everywhere. Blessed Redeemer, your glory fills the air. Everlasting Father, the one who rescues me, I choose my confidence and in Jehovah Shammah. So for me, it now then made me conscious. I remember there was one time in a taxi, I was singing a song, and the driver just kept asking like, "Hey, what song is that?" Because I was so jovial at the time. And if I'm being honest, the way that season was looking, it didn't explain why I would be singing that song. And similarly, an incident recently, like for the period of time, that I was actually looking for a job, there was a job that I'd applied for and I'd gotten to the end. I was like, this is it. Someone had already given me a word that, my job is around the corner. So at this point, I was thinking, this is the job. So it was me against one candidate. And I remember like everything about the role just seemed like something I'd want, right? The money was ticking, the job, the company. And I remember when they said, oh, we've decided to go with another candidate because of, so and so reason. I was so angry. Like, in fact, let me not say angry, because I've realized anger is not the most default emotion for me. I was so saddened. But when I was praying, I couldn't go to God with that saddened, like burden, as if, oh, why did I not get it? I just started saying, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. God. And the more I'm saying thank you,
Tears wake up.
I'm crying. I was just crying, saying thank you, thank you. But let me tell you this, the level of peace I got. And I remember I told this to someone and they said, oh, but even if the case, has the other person accepted the job? Me in my head, I'm thinking, they said this job is for this guy. Where am I thinking about him accepting the job? Before they say, so to them, they were thinking, no. You can still pray to get the job, But for me, I'd already started. I was like, if God wanted me to get it, and I guess that perspective was quite something to consider. But I remember I was just so content with, if God truly so loves me, that if He wanted this for me, I will have it. Because apart from Him, I know I could have no good thing. So if He is not in this one, it is not a good thing. And so I was able to like find the stillness and the peace in the storm. And I guess that's why, when I even saw the title of your book, I was like, this resonates with something. I mean, if I was to write a book, to be honest, I think I probably use the same title. It just says that because sometimes I'm like, man, the reality of my situations and the way I'm having to show up in life just don't align. And even the strength that I have, I cannot explain. And so for you, maybe what I'd ask is, what is in the book? What's like the major highlight other than the title and the aspect of being still in the storm? Because I know you've unpacked a couple of things in the book.
Yeah.
What's something that if someone wants to like get a sneak peek clip to your book?
I think the highlight would be, or like the major message that I wanted people to get is that true peace is not the absence of storm. I mean, I was trying to make that explanation that there's a difference between peace and true peace. You can say you have peace when everything is okay. You have your job. That was what I thought peace was. Yeah, because I've thought about peace before when I was in school and all of that. Yeah, told people I've talked about peace severally, and then I got to a place where I was now in this storm. So where is the peace? The same one I was talking about. Then I realized that it's different. There is true peace and there is peace. Peace is that one you have when everything is okay. Yeah. But true peace is the kind of peace that you have in the storm. And so that's the major message, major highlight of it. Like, see, the peace I'm talking about is not the type of the one that you're talking about. It's the one that even in the storm, you have it. And you see that true peace itself, it has a name. And it's Jesus.
I was going to say, all I was thinking is, ironically, when you were explaining, I was just looking at the cover of your book. I don't know if you guys could see this, but on the cover of the book, it shows the storm and then the boat. Yeah. All I could think about is the story of Jesus on the boat, and he is sleeping, and people are busy in a storm. I think, honestly, me and Jesus are like buddies. For those people who say, like, I like sleeping, just so you know, Jesus was sleeping during a storm. So for me, by the problem to all my issues is sleep. When I'm stressed, I sleep. When I'm stranded, like I'm trying to brainstorm and I can't think. And the reason why I sleep, is just because I can quiet myself from the rush and the heightedness of the emotions I'm going through at that time. And when I wake up, before it's difficult to get yourself back up. So I'll sober up in processing the issue. And so I probably deal with it a little bit different than I would have when I was in the heat of it. And I guess that's honestly, sleep gives me stillness. I'm not trying to say you should go and sleep. But, I think there's a benefit to gaining perspective to your issues, and realizing that the storms that you're going through from the lenses of God completely look different.
Yeah.
And that's why Jesus could sleep on the boat. Wow. Guys, this is something. So what would you say, if you had an encouragement for someone who's currently in a difficult situation? It could be yourself. What would be the encouragement that you would give?
I'll say it like in correlation to chapter 8.
Yes.
Storm will pass. Like, yeah, no storm would ever come to stay. If it come, it will pass. So the encouragement there is that no bad season that you're in will last for life. It's just for a season. It's just for a moment which will pass. So, but the thing is, your moment could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 7 years, and you feel like giving up. Don't give up. It will pass. Because that one I'm sure, because from examples from the Bible and everything, I actually explained a lot on covering that in the book. And even though you saw when Jesus was with the disciples in the storm wasn't for years. It's still not in action right now. It stopped. So whatever it is, my encouragement to you is that it will surely pass.
Guys, if you're not encouraged by this episode could be longer, because, to be honest, the experiences that have inspired this book are quite many. And, some of the stories you shared, I figured those are interesting stories to have. I think I would want to have like those episodes in in a more exclusive content. So if you're watching, this is your first time you're tuning into the Grace and Glow Up podcast, thank you so much for joining Victoria and I. Please, it helps me pay the bills. Just like, share, and subscribe. If you're not going to spend any money, the like is free, the subscribe is free. I'd truly appreciate it. If you have any comments, feedback, you guys were supportive in season 1, but I'd appreciate. Please don't just DM me your feedback. It makes a difference when the feedback is actually in the comment section. Other people get inspired and also encouraged from some of the takeaways that you give. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. And Victoria, I'm for sure looking for you. The stories in the first bit of the episode, we for sure need to unpack those.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So see you guys in episode 3. I have another interesting story. I guess we're really dealing with a lot of storms. So looking forward to see you guys in episode 3. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.
Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another.